breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm and friendly though. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beeson Family of Podcasts. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Jovan Alford. He does such tremendous work over at Total Sports Live, along with Fansided. We have to talk with him about the Phillies, the fact that they've had a rough start to the season, but they seem to be turning it around a little bit. We'll talk with him about some of the surprises thus far this season, to the positive and the negative, as we're now about 6 weeks through this season. We'll take a look at a few games for Thursday as well, and then in the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, that's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, we had ourselves a fun day of baseball on Wednesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The LA Dodgers lose Tyler Glass now after the first inning. He leaves early, so that was not a great sign. We'll see how bad the damage is, but the Dodgers, they did damage to the Houston Astros. 12-2, they get the job done for Glass. Now, he gave up a solo home run in his lone inning of work as Bryce Matthews got his 4th home run of the season in an impromptu bullpen game. This was actually very solid from the Dodgers. Blake Tryon gives up a run in an inning, and he's been one of the weak links for them, but Edgar Enriquez, 2 scoreless innings. Jack Dreher, 2 scoreless innings. The Hurt, Kyle Hurt, along with Tanner Scott and Brock and Roll Stewart, also by a scoreless inning, and Lance McCullers Jr. continues to be terrible. 2 2/3 innings, he gives up 6 runs, all of which were earned, including a bomb to Andy Paz, who was able to get his 6th home run of the season. Then he was able to get his 7th home run of the season off of Jason Alexander. No relation to Seinfeld, and it was not funny that he gave up 5 runs in 4 1/3 innings. Angel de los Santos, he comes in for an inning scoreless, and then from there you had Cesar Salazar come in for an inning, and he gave up another bomb to Paz, number 8 of the season. So 3 home runs and 6 RBI for Paz. So that was nice, clean domination out there. Nice, clean domination by the Slam Diego Padres as they slammed the Giants by a count of 5-1. Adrian, don't call him Doogie Howser. Honestly, not a bad start here. 6 innings, gives up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned. He was taken deep in this one by Gavin Sheets. Holy sheets, that was his 5th home run of the season. Then Xander Bogaerts off of Ryan Walker, his 7th home run season for Walker. He gives up a pair of runs in his inning of work. Keaton Wing gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Matt Gage and out of the bullpen scoreless, and Yul Piero off the injury list is scoreless inning, but nothing doing for the Giants offense again. Rafael Devers actually had the lone run of the game. He gets a solo run off of Matt Waldron, who he came in after Bradley Rodriguez was the opener for a scoreless inning. Waldron gives up that solo run in 5 innings of work, and then from there, Adrian Morejon, 2 scoreless innings. Mason Miller closes the door with a scoreless inning. The Chicago White Sox, they fall to the LA Angels, this by a count of 8-2. By the way, if you had the under in this game, there were 3 hit by pitches with the bases loaded. I don't remember last time ever seeing that, but Yareña was very good in this game. 1 run allowed over the course of 6 innings. Brent Suter from there, a run allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Drew Pomeranz, and out of the bullpen scoreless, Chase Silseth, 2 scoreless innings, and Noah Schultz. This was not great. 7 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings. Travis d'Arnaud takes him deep for his 1st home run of the campaign, as well as Obito, 2 1/3 innings scoreless. Jordan Hicks, a scoreless inning, and then Greg Taylor gives up an unearned run in his inning of work. He was hurt by a little bit of shenanigans out there in the field. No shenanigans here for the Seattle Mariners, 3-1. They're able to take down the Atlanta Braves. Martin Perez, not a bad start here. 2 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Was taken deep by Julio Rodriguez, his 5th home run of the campaign. From there, Tyler Kinley and out of the bullpen scoreless, DDA Fuentes, a run given up in 2 innings of work, and Brian Woo-hoo to an amazing start. 1 hit in 6 shutout innings, punch out 9. Cooper Criswell, Jose Ferrer, they both give you a scoreless inning. Edward Bizardo gives up a run in an inning, but the Atlanta Braves, who lead the league in terms of scoring, they were not able to get anything generated here. The Blue Jays weren't able to get anything generated either. 3-0, the Rays get the job done. Sugar Shane McClanahan, 5 2/3 innings scoreless. Kevin Kelly, Brian Baker, Ian Seymour, all done at scoreless inning. Garrett Clevenger, and out of the bullpen scoreless. Patrick Corbin, not bad in this one. He only went 61 pitches, 2 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. From there, Braden Fisher, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. Louis Varland gives up an unearned run in his inning work. Mason Flaherty, and out of the bullpen scoreless. Team pitched well enough to win, but absolutely nothing doing at the plate. plate for them. A lot doing at the plate for the Milwaukee Brewers, so they get the job done over the St. Louis Cardinals by a count of 6-2. Brandon Sproat, small sample size of 4 innings, but 4 shutout innings, so you'll take that. DL Turner to Paul, he was able to go for a scoreless inning. Aaron Ashby, 2 scoreless innings, and then Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe, they both gave up a run in their inning of work, but damage had been done as Andre 3000 Palante gives up 5 runs over the course of 6 innings, gave up a 4 spot in the first inning, settled in from there as he gives up a home run to Andrew Vaughn. Welcome back, first home run of the campaign. From there, Jordan Schuster, 2 scoreless innings. Matt Savanson gives up a run in an inning, but Brewers, they claw their way back to 19-16, so big win for them. A big one for the Cleveland Guardians as they get a 3-1 win over the Kansas City Royals. For the Royals, Colette Reagans only last 3 innings, gave up 1 hit. He had to be removed from the start early. From there, Luinder Avila, 2 runs allowed in 2 innings. The rest of the bullpen was solid. Alex Lang does give up a run in 1 1/3 innings, but John Schreiber, 1 2/3 innings scoreless. And then Eric Santola, hopefully I got that correct, he was able to give a scoreless inning in his MLB debut, picked Brian Rocchio off of third base. Joey Cantillo, very rock solid for the Guardians, 1 run allowed in 5 innings. And from there, you had Eric Sabrowski, Hunter Gaddis combined for 2 scoreless innings. Cade Smith, Matt Festa, they had a fiesta. They were able to give you a scoreless inning apiece. The Walker Texas Rangers get a 6-1 win over the Yankees. For the Yankees, Will Warren does not last long in this one. 6 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings, taken deep by Eli Carter. 4th home run of the season. Corey Seager, his 7th. From there, Yuri De Los Santos, 3 1/3 innings scoreless. Ryan Yarbrough, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And Nathan Eovaldi seems to be back online. Did give up a solo home run. Aaron Judge, 15th home run of the season. That's all you'd allow in 8 innings. And then Jacob Latz was able to polish off the 9th inning scoreless. Paul Skeens was working on a perfect game for a while, unable to get it done, but still, really good performance here. 1-0. Pirates take down the Arizona Diamondbacks. For Skeens, he gives up 2 hits and 8 shutout innings. Gregory Soto closes out things in the 9th inning, and Michael Soroka gave up a home run in the first inning to Brandon Lau, gets allowed for his 9th home run season. That's all he'd give up in 6 1/3 innings. From there, Kevin Ginkel, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Juan Murillo along Taylor Clark lend a scoreless inning, so Soroka, a tough luck loser. And hey, the Mets are on a winning streak. 10-5, they take down the Colorado Rockies. 3rd straight win. Freddie Peralta, very solid here. 5 scoreless innings. From there, Tobias Myers does give up 4 runs in 2/3 inning, including a pair of home runs. Jake McCarthy, first home run in the campaign. TJ Brownfield, his 5th, and Brooks Raley does not go off the Rayleys. 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Sean Manaea gives up a run in 1/3 of inning. Devin Williams, he got a save. He got a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Luke Weaver, scoreless inning, and Michael Lorenzen just aided in this one. 7 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. He gives up a home run to Juan Soto, 4th home run season. And Marcus Semien did something. 2nd home run season, that comes off of Zach Ognos, who gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 innings. Wild one out there in Chicago. The Cubs may find a way to persevere. 7-6 in 10 innings against the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds were down 2 runs going into the 9th inning. They put up a 4 spot as they were able to have Spencer Steer go deep off of Corbin Martin. 6th home run season as Colin Ray, well, he set hit parade to a nice start. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 5 1/3 innings. Did give up home run to Matt McClain. 3rd home run season, but from there, Jacob Webb, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Phil Matona scoreless inning. Martin does not get a single out of the bullpen, gives up 3 runs, all of which were earned. And then from there, Hobie Milner, he gives up a run in an inning, but Trent Thornton scoreless 10th inning. And for Brady Singer, he was singing the blues. Gave up a home run to Ian Happ, who is not Hapless, 9th home run season. Gives up 4 runs in total over the course of 6 innings. From there, Peters Johnson, Sam Bull combined for a scoreless inning. TJ Antone, a scoreless inning, but Graham Ashcraft gives up a home run to Pete Crow Armstrong in the 9th inning with his team up to Armstrong. 4th home run season that forces extras. Ashcraft gives up 2 runs in an inning, and then Brockenroll-Burke, he walks in the winning run, a walk-off walk with the bases loaded for the Cubs. So they do find a way to be able to pull that one out of the fire. The Washington Nationals won this one in very convincing fashion. 15-2 all over the Minnesota Twins. Bailey Ober gives up 5 runs over the course of 5 innings, and he was taken deep. This was home run number 1 of the season for the young catcher Drew Milas. I believe that might have been his first career home run as well. And from there, the bullpen was not any better, as you had Cody Funderburk give up a run in an inning. Andrew Morris, pair of outs out of the bullpen, he allows a run along the way, and then you had a pair of home runs given up by Luis Garcia in 2/3 of an inning. He was taken deep by Jose Tena, his 2nd home run of the campaign, and CJ Abrams, his 9th, and Brady House off of Justin Topa, 5th home run season. Topa, 6 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning, and Miles Michaelis was not bad. 5 1/3 innings, 2 runs allowed. He does give up a home run to Matt Wallner, 4th home run of the campaign. From there, Mitchell Parker, 2 2/3 innings scoreless, and then you were able to get a scoreless inning out of Mr. Zach Kent. So nice win there for the Washington Nationals, and Twins very much coming back down to earth right now, and a team that has been very rock solid here recently. How about the Baltimore Orioles, another win on the road, 7-4. They take down the Miami Marlins. Brandon Young gives up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings, and then from there, Grant Wolfram, a run given up in 2/3 inning. Uncle Rico Garcia, scoreless inning, and then Anthony Nunez, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Iri Perez continues a rough season. 5 runs allowed in 5 innings, gives up a bomb to Pete Alonso, 7th home run season. 2 runs allowed by Dax Fulton in his MLB debut. He had to come in long relief for 4 innings to be able to save the bullpen there. Being able to save the day, the Philadelphia Phillies, 6-3. They take down the Athletics. We'll talk a little bit more with Jovan Alford in the next segment about those Phils, but Zach Wheeler wasn't necessarily wheeling and dealing. 3 runs allowed in 6 1/3 innings. Tyler Soderstrom takes them deep for his 5th home run of the campaign. Bullpen looked good, though. Tim Meza along with Jose Alvarado both give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Orion Kirkering out of the bullpen scoreless, and Brad Keller scoreless inning. Jeffrey Springs, 5 1/3 innings, allows 2 runs, including a home run to Adolis Garcia, 4th home run season. From there, the bullpen had their issues. You did have Justin Sterner and Hogan Harris be heroes with a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, but Jack Perkins, 4 runs, 2 of which were earned. Jeff McNeil, he had a pretty rough throwing error out there. That certainly did not help the cause, but the Red Sox all of a sudden are helping out their cause. 4-0, another win over the Detroit Tigers, so yay verily there as Sonny Gray off the injured list. Look sharp, 5 shutout innings. From there, you had Zach Kelly, Greg Weiser, both landed scoreless inning. Tyler Semenijo has been very good out of the bullpen, 2 scoreless innings, and Captain Jack Flaherty, 10 bunch-outs in 5 innings. He does allow 4 runs, 2 of which were in. Colt Keith hurt him with an error, but from there you had Drew Anderson along with Brian Turner combined for 2 scoreless innings. Kyle Finnegan, Birch Smith, they both supply a scoreless inning, but absolutely nothing doing for the Detroit Tigers at the plate. And if you're looking at trend-wise, what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has been an overwhelming season, but over the last 7 days, it's been a little bit more tame. 48 overs to 45 unders. We've had, I believe, 3 pushes along the way, so about 51.6% to the over. Favorites are having themselves a whale of a time, 56-38 on the money line, but they're not covering the run line. Of those 56 favorites, 15 failed to cover the run line. Overall for the season, favorites hitting at 56.1%, 304 and 238 on the money line. Among those favorites, you have now seen a grand total of, if math serves me correct, 62 not cover the run line. And then overall for the season, overs hitting at 52.7%, 283 overs, 254 unders, and 16 pushes along the way. So that's what we're seeing in Major League Baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, let's chat it up with our good friend Jovan Alford of Total Sports Live, along Fansided, and you're on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, not part of the Mets and Phillies podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It's always a pleasure to be joined by this man, as we've got Jovan Alford aboard. He does a tremendous job taking a look at this great game of baseball over at Total Sports Live, along with Fansided, and he's doing a lot of things, as I know he's been taking a look at what we've been getting in terms of spring football. He does a great job keeping his finger on the pulse of all things Philadelphia sports, so certainly 76ers much better this year than it was a season ago, so he's been having some fun out there, and you're able to follow him on the old Twitter/checks at his first name, Jovan, the number 10 altogether. And Jovan, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Hey, it's always good to be on with you, Greg, talking about baseball. I can't believe we're already a month through the season. It's just crazy. Everything is just how time has flown, but I'm glad to be on with you as always.
Oh, I am always happy to have you aboard, my friend, and it certainly has been interesting to see what we've gotten here thus far this season. And I mentioned it at the top, you're out there in the great city of Philadelphia, and just how do you take a look at the Phillies right now? Because it was such a terrible start to the season for them, but all of a sudden, ever since they turned things over to Don Mattingly, things have gone back online, and maybe they don't achieve the expectations that they had coming into the year, but it certainly feels like the ship has been stabilized.
Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like the last time I was on, the Phillies were, I think, stuck in the mud. And now who knew that the Donnie baseball era would kind of light a fire under this group. And I think they realized, that Topper necessarily, he had to be the fall guy for them not performing. And to their credit, Dave have started to perform much better offensively. Bryce Harper has been the catalyst for that. He's been looking really good. You can probably say he's making a case for an all-star appearance with how he's playing throughout this stretch with Mattingly taking over. And it's good to see he's performing well. Bryson Stott, has been, even though the numbers don't show it, he's hitting the ball really hard. I think he's hit about 3 home runs in the span of like a week or something like that. He's been hitting the ball hard right now. And the starting pitching, I think that's where it also comes down to your starting pitching, which I think everybody realized that was the part of the team that was going to help elevate this team. You have the guys on offense, but people knew, and everybody knows, for this Phillies team to go the distance, it starts with the starting rotation, and they've turned things around. Jesus Luzardo have turned things around. Christopher Sanchez looking really, really good, as we, expect Christopher Sanchez to do Christopher Sanchez thing. Aaron Nola, his last start against Miami, were much better. Didn't give up a home run, which is always a Aaron Nola thing. Like, if you probably bet on Aaron Nola, you probably know he's liable to give up a home run like every start. You just don't know who, right? So you add that in, getting Zach Wheeler back. It looks like he hasn't missed a step. He's been striking guys out. He's looking like, himself on the mound. So it's been an interesting turnaround, to say the least. Obviously, they won't be catching the Braves in no time soon, because they've just been really good. But hey, the wild card is still a spot for them. But right now, the goal is just to get to 500. And so far, they've been really good.
Yep, they are getting back online. It's been looking much better for them over the last week or two. So you do love to be able to see that. And on Thursday, they will be in action against the Athletics, with Andrew Painter taking the bump. And how do you take a look at him? Because I think that he's going to be one of the big X factors for the Phillies. And while he has an ERA above a 5, I feel like he's performed better than what the surface level numbers would indicate.
Yeah, he's definitely performed better than, like you said, than what his ERA says. I mean, you look at his last start against the Marlins, he went a solid, 5, got hit around a little bit. He's actually been getting hit around his last couple of starts. Obviously, the start before that against the Braves, he gave up 9 hits and 5 earned runs and a home run. But obviously, it's the Atlanta Braves, right? Who isn't getting hit around by him? But like you said, he's going to be the X factor of this group. And I still think he's special. I mean, you look at what he's done. The metrics against lefties and righties don't look good. But I think for him, it's just continuing to figure out that rhythm, find who you are on the mound as a starting pitcher. And I think he'll start to get it together. I think he has high strikeout capability. I still believe he has that type of arm where he can do that. I think it's just finding that groove right now. He's going to have to do it against the Athletics team that, they're playing solid baseball right now. I think they're first in the AL West right now. That group is finally starting to reap those rewards with those hitters and with their starting rotation. So it's going to be a nice test for him, because like you said, I think he's the X factor, because there's no one else that they can turn to right now, right? There's no more Taijuan Walker, even though Phillies fans are happy about that. But he's the guy, right? If everybody does their job ahead of him, then it sets up a spot where he doesn't have to carry that huge workload, because you have the Nolas, the Luzardos, the Sanchez's. So I think as the season goes on, I think he'll get stronger and stronger. And as he starts to see some of these teams, especially teams in his division, right, he'll start to see them multiple times. He'll start to get a feel for these hitters. And I think the ball will start to roll, in his direction.
Yep, I think so as well. I think that he's going to be able to have himself a little bit of a better go of it here in the next few weeks, and I think that could be starting against the Athletics here on Thursday, as we do have Jovan Alford, does great work over at Total Sports Live, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And how do you take a look at the Phillies and their path, try to be able to get back into the postseason? Because the Mets have looked a little bit better, but I think that's fair to say. If you were looking at things about a week and a half ago, the Mets and the Phillies were the biggest disappointments, and the Phillies, they've gotten much more online here than the Mets thus far. But the Atlanta Braves, even though they lost a few games in Seattle, they have been the big bad wolf out there in the National League. But I just still take a look at the entirety of the National League, and I still think that for the Phillies, they might be fighting an uphill battle to be able to get into the playoffs, because of what we've been seeing out of some of these NL West teams. And the NL Central just still has everyone above 500 in that division as well.
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting thing for the Phillies, right? Like you said, the division right now is a little bit out of hand right now. But if you're the Phillies, you have to play the game if you can control what you can control, right? Which is to win every game possible, but also win series, right? Which means you take 3 out of 4, you take 2 out of 3. If you can get a sweep, even better, but you got to kind of play it that way mathematically. And you got to hope, right, as we get into June and into July, right, that some of those NL Central teams will either come back down to earth or will start cannibalizing each other. Like, that's what you have to hope, that those teams will start taking each other out. So then you could probably jump ahead of them, because you look at the Phillies schedule coming up after this series against the Athletics. They got 3 against Colorado, who's been a little frisky a little bit, but then you got 3 at Boston. Then you see the Pirates and you see the Reds. again, a couple teams that are in that wild card chase towards the end of this month. Then you have the Guardians as well. So for them, they got to be able to clean up against the Rockies. Boston has been struggling this season, but they still got guys, in their line. In that stretch against the Pirates and the Reds for 6 games, they got to at least try to get at least 4 out of 6 in those matchups, because you want to keep on winning, but you also want to have tiebreakers and things of that nature if it comes down to that point as we get later into the season.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And I do think that that's going to be really interesting to take a look at, as we've got ourselves so many teams out there in the National League that have been rock solid. And if you're a struggling team out there in the American League, and there have been plenty of them, I just feel like everyone out there, aside from maybe the LA Angels, have a shot at the postseason, just because it just feels like the divide between the National League and the American League is so big. And if you get off to a rough start like the Astros, it certainly has been bad, and I don't think that they make a run to the postseason, but a team like the Astros or the Mariners still has hope, where I think in the National League, you get off to a slow start and you're really just fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah, no, and I think you laid it out pretty well, especially like you said, you look at that NL Central where you have all 5 teams in that division like just stacked up, and that's hard, right? It's different when you have maybe like a couple of NL West teams and maybe a couple of NL East teams, but you got literally a whole division like sitting right there that you're going to have to climb over. And like you said, maybe that shows how strong the National League right now is compared to American League. But then if you look in the American League, right, there's almost the same situation, even though everybody's under 500 in the AL Central, where everybody's kind of piled up in that mess of a division, and everybody's piled up there. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these division races start to shake out as we get deeper and into the summer, and a lot of these divisional teams start to play each other more. I think we'll start to see a little bit more separation amongst the divisions, and hopefully if you're a Phillies fan, you hope that happens in the NL Central, and you hope maybe the Braves go on a slide here or there. Maybe they lose a few games and you could pick up, some ground, because every win counts, right? You started off slow in April, which is always your worst fear. You start off slow and now you're playing catch up. But now this is the time in certain points of the schedule where you have to just do what you can. And that's for every team right now that's struggling right now or that have postseason hopes, right? It looks bad right now, but you got to take it game by game and hopefully pick up wins here or there and start to put streaks together. Not losing streaks like the Mets and the Phillies, but, some winning streaks.
Yeah, you don't want to be losing 9+ games in a row. That's very much not recommended. You'll go from being in a hole to a big giant hole, and that's not a place where you want to be. A place where you do want to be is chatting with Jovan Alford, who does such great work over at Total Sports Live and Fansided, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And I mentioned it with the American League. Lots of teams still have hope. And is there a team or two that maybe has gotten off to a little bit of shaky start in the American League where you do see perhaps a little bit of positivity for them?
That's a very good question. I think with the American League, what has stood out to me so far, we mentioned this team obviously just a couple minutes ago, is the Mariners, right? That's a team that I think everyone has expectations that, with their starting rotation with Kirby and Castillo and Logan Gilbert, with all those guys, right? And you add Brendan Donovan, which was the huge acquisition with Josh Naylor. You would think that this team would kind of run away from the division and kind of take hold. And right now that hasn't been the case for them. You look at their run differential, it's +4, which is not spectacular, but it's surprisingly the best in that division, even though they're in second place. For them, I think the issue has been right now, obviously, for them is on the road. They haven't played particularly well on the road, 6 out of 9, but again, they have a little bit of a soft stretch coming up here. They have the White Sox for 3, who have been frisky. Murakami has been must-see TV, but if they can get through them, and then where we talked about again, divisional matchup against the Astros, like you said, this team haven't played up to par. They just lost Carlos Correa to a season-ending ankle injury, which is just terrible for that squad. So Mariners, I know it's been a little rocky up and down right now, but they can pick up some wins and try to shake this division out and try to get back up to the top, because I don't think the A's will keep that top spot for long, even though I've been very impressed with what they did. Jeffrey Springs has been playing and pitching at an all-star level this season.
Yep, absolutely. And with the Athletics, the bullpen has looked a little bit better this year as well. They've got some big home and road splits. Sacramento is yielding a lot of runs at home.
Yes.
And notice that the offense not quite the same when they're away from home. And Jovan, we've got ourselves 10 games on the board for Thursday, so a relatively okay slate considering it's a travel day for many of these teams. Anything that you're taking a look at outside aside the Athletics versus Phillies game that we laid out a few minutes ago.
This Miami Orioles game, specifically Max Meyer, he's been pitching really good. That entire Marlins pitching staff is actually pretty good, considering outside of, Sandy Alcantara. Meyer, just watched him a few days ago against the Phillies, very strong out, and against the Phillies, had 7 strikeouts, 1 hit allowed, only gave up a walk against the Phillies, had him off balance throughout the game, and that's kind of been working for him this season at home. He's 2-0, 2.42 ERA in 4 starts. Opponents are only hitting 163 against him at the plate, and the Orioles, been okay against left-handed pitching. They've hit, 231, which is 18th best in the major league. But I'm really looking forward to see what Meyer does. I'm looking, to see maybe what his K prop is sitting at, or what we're going to get for our outs prop, because he's been really good. He's been good, and I think if you're a Marlins fan, you have to be excited, seeing him perform well. Obviously, Sandy doing Sandy things, and obviously we heard earlier Robbie Snelling, a top pitching prospect in their system. He's coming up on Friday, a guy that me and Adam Rosenberg and CJ talked about on Dad's Bad Baseball a few times. He's coming up, so there's a lot to like about this Marlins pitching staff, and Max Meyer has played a huge role in that. So I'm really excited to see what he can do and see what the market kind of dictates in terms of outs, props, and strikeouts.
Absolutely. Always love it when we get those prospects called up. Typically, I don't like to back them in game number 1, game number 2, but as they find their bearings, typically they are very, very fruitful. They're guys that are a little bit under the radar, but a man that should never be flying under the radar, that'd be you, Jovan. You do such excellent work over at Total Sports Live. You do a great job over at Fansided and so much more. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
For sure, Greg. Always appreciate you having me. Like you said earlier, Jovan10 on Twitter and Blue Sky, and also TotalSportsLive.com. There's a lot happening right now. Obviously, Phillies, Sixers, Eagles draft just finished up. We got, like you said, spring football. WNBA is about to start too. Regular season starts Friday, so a lot of action there, a lot of betting opportunities in that lane too, which is going to be so much fun this season with 2 more expansion teams joining. So a lot of things happening on TotalSportsLive.com.
There's always a lot happening in the world of Jovan. He's doing such a great job on so many different fronts, and every single time he joins me, he lends such great insight. So big thanks to Jovan for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always a pleasure to be joined by Jovan Alford. He does such great work over at Total Sports Live. He's doing an incredible job taking a look at everything out there in the Philadelphia area. On top of that, I know that he does superb work with regards to this great game of baseball. Every single time he joins me, lends such great insights, and did so once again today. So big thanks to Jovan for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81. We are going to be going in Las Vegas station order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, any intra-league games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy, with the lone exception being that Mets versus Rockies game. That was a game that was not supposed to be played today, but due to the postponement on Tuesday, that has now been moved to today. That's why they had to put that one at the bottom. 901, 902 on the card. It's the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati on the road against the Chicago Cubs. Shota Imanaga goes for the Cubs. Rat Lauder goes for the Reds. Total on this game is 8.5, overs -120. The under is even with the Cubs. You're getting them between -190 to -205. Plus 158 to a plus 175 is that number on the Reds. Plus 172 or greater. Willing to take a shot here on the Reds on the money line. Rat Lauder is not a guy that's going to go out there and light the world on fire with regards to strikeouts, but he does a pretty solid job with regards to command, and he is backed up by an offense that has been a little bit shaky, but I think that they're going to find it here moving forward for Lauder. Right now, 5.09 ERA, but a 3.23 fielding dependent. He keeps the ball in the yard. He has given up just 1 home run in 35 1/3 innings this far this season. Again, only about 6.5 strikeouts strikeouts per 9 innings, but do think that there's going to be some positivity there. And for Shota Imanaga, I'm not sure if the amount of strikeouts that he's getting right now is going to be sustainable. Last year, he was only getting about 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, up to 9.4 punch-outs per 9 this year. 3.73 ERA with a 4.86 fielding dependent last year. That's down to a 2.40 ERA with 2.73 fielding dependent thus far this season, with really reducing on the deep ball. 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. I think he's better than he was last year. I don't think he's quite as great as he has been right now, so I think that's somewhere between A and B. And one of the big things for the Reds is that we have seen Sal Stewart over the last 2 or so weeks hit a little bit of a skid, and they need him, especially with Eugenio Suarez dealing with a little bit of an injury because it's been Ellie De La Cruz really carrying the mail. 350 on base, 10 home runs. Sal is up to 9 home runs, 335 on base, but that has been waning, and the rest of the lineup has just been very hit or miss. You've got the likes of TJ Friedel, Matt McClain, Will Benson, Tyler Stevenson, who all entered in the day hitting below the Meadows line of a 200 on Wednesday. You've got Emilio Pagan with regards to bullpen right now dealing with an injury. I really don't think that that's a bad thing for this bullpen, if I'm calling it what it is, because the likes of Tony Santillan, Graham Ashcraft, they've been able to supply a sub-325 ERA this year. Recognize that Pierce Johnson is up above a 4 ERA, but this was a group that through the first about 4 weeks of the season, they were number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA. Things have unraveled on them as of late, but Connor Phillips is able to be a good long guy, sub-335 ERA, and it is a Cubs team that is out dealing with a whole bunch of injuries. Now they're going to need to mix and match with regards to rotation, with Matthew Boyd getting injured trying to sit down playing with his kids. The bullpen already dealing with Riley Martin, Hunter Harvey, Caleb Thielbar, Porter Hodge, all on the injured list. So Ben Brown, Daniel Palencia, these are your main men right now. And for the Cubs, the offense has been able to really keep them afloat. Top 17 in terms of run creation, even with Alex Bregman. 340 on base with 3 home runs entering into yesterday. You just expect a little bit more there. Ian Apis, 8 home runs, 370 on base. Dansby Swanson not hitting for any average, but he and Moises Ballesteros, 6 home runs, and Ballesteros along with Miguel Amaya, Carson Kelly, all these catchers are giving you above a 350 on base. Say Suzuki has been pretty solid as well, so I do think that it's an interesting spot here. I didn't talk about the wind too much because the conditions are going to be very fair out there at Wrigley Field. You're going to get a little bit of directional wind, should be blowing out a little bit more, so I did set my total here more around about an 8.7, so 8.5 or less. I'm going to be in on the over, but plus 172 or higher. I do like the Reds here on the money line. 903, 904 on the card. The Pirates are going to be on the road facing off against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Zach Allen looks to fill it up for the Saints, and Mitch Keller goes for the Pirates. Pirates are about a pick 'em, minus 110 to minus 115, so very, very slight favorites. Minus 104 to minus 110. That number on the Snakes. 9 is the total. Over is anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 110. Under is minus 110 to a minus 115. I set the Diamondbacks at a minus 127. I'm going to be willing to take them on the money line. For Zach Allen, I recognize that maybe the raw ERA and everything is not necessarily the best, and he's down with this strikeout stuff. He's getting fewer than 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's really been able to do a good job in terms of keeping things out in front of him and not giving up the deep ball. For Mr. Gallen, 4.45 ERA, but a 3.64 fielding dependent, 0.6 home runs, 2.8 walks allowed per 9 innings. And when it comes to Keller, he's got a rock solid 2.85 ERA this season. Last 3 seasons, he's been between a 4.15 and a 4.25 ERA, so I think that there might be a little bit of regression there. He again doing a nice job, not allowing the deep ball, 1 home run allowed in 41 innings in his 7 starts this year, but you look at his home and road splits throughout his career, very drastic. For his career at home, a 4.01 ERA, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. That goes up to 1.2 home runs allowed per 9 innings with a 4.91 ERA away from home. So, that is a pretty stark difference there. And you do have a Pirates team that has been second in the league in terms of run scoring at home with about 5.9 runs per game. Entered into yesterday with about 3.9 runs per game away from home. That's in the bottom 10 in all baseball. Now, after a shaky first few weeks at the big league level, Connor Griffin is starting to find it. He hasn't necessarily for a lot of home runs, but hitting above a 260 now. Marcell Ozuna just continues to be awful for this team, but O'Neill Cruz, 9 home runs, on-base percentage right around about a 315, but he's been solid. Ryan O'Hearn, Brian Reynolds are moving the line, both give you over a 385 on base. Really love the pickup of O'Hearn during the offseason. He had 20-plus home runs last season as well. Brandon Lau has gotten loud, 350 on base. He's up to 8 home runs thus far this season as well. So these have been guys that have been very reliable. And then for the Arizona Diamondbacks, this has been a unit that has been having some big splits with regards to righties versus lefties. They have absolutely been mashing lefties thus far this season. Against right-handed pitching, it's been a little bit more suspect, but you do have a Diamondbacks team that last year, they were 4th in the league in terms of run creation. They're back in the top 10 thus far this season, so they have struggled a little bit against right-handed pitching, but that said, you still have Corbin Carroll has been able to give you 360 on base, only 4 home runs, but Ilyarmo Vargas hitting like a 375 going into yesterday with 6 home runs absolutely incredible. You have to figure that Lourdes Gurriel, Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte started to pick it up. Gurriel has been stuck on 0 home runs. He was banged up to begin the season, but now up to a 340 on base. Marte, 5 bombs, but less than a 385 on base. Actually, less than a 285 on base, but he should be able to pick it up moving forward. Nolan Arenado, he's actually turned back the clock, getting like a 275, not really drawing a lot of walks. And Diamondbacks in general, they do need to take their base a little bit more, but overall, they've been able to step up a little bit, and Gabriel Moreno coming off the injury list is big as well. Have to have some trepidation with this Diamondbacks bullpen. Kevin Ginkel last year had well north of a 5 ERA. You were able to have Ryan Thompson be very solid last season. He's been a little bit more hit or miss this year, about a 3.38 ERA, so he's starting to round into form. Taylor Clark, Juan Murillo, but able to give you a sub-3 ERA. I just still don't trust him. Paul Sewell, just a hair below a 4 ERA, and then on the flip side for the Pittsburgh Pirates, I'm not necessarily a Gregory Stone of Stan, but he's been very good thus far this season. Dennis Santana last year had a sub-250 ERA. He's been up with that a little bit this year, but likes of Yohan Ramirez, the company, have been able to do a nice job in terms of holding down the fort. Even when you've needed him to come out and be able to give you some innings, you've had Mason Montgomery give you a sub-350 as well. So I did set a total here of an 8.9. At the 9, I like the under. And for the Diamondbacks, I'm a little up to minus 126 on the money line. 905, 906 on the card. It's the Cardinals on the road against the Padres. Michael King hopes to be the king for the Pods, and Matthew Liberatore is on the bum for St. Louis. St. Louis is an underdog of plus 150. Meanwhile, minus 175 now, minus 180. That number on the Pods, 8 to 7.5 is the total. On the 7.5, over is minus 130, and the under is plus 110. Mostly seeing 8 out there, and the 8 has under juice of minus 115. The over is minus 105. You're looking to lay a run half right now with San Diego. You're going to be finding that about a plus 125, and that's my bare bones minimum buy point here. Plus 125 or higher. Do like the run line of the San Diego Padres. Says got a guy in Liberatore who pitches to a lot of contact. Even you saw that last year. Last year he was only getting right around about 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, down to about 5.8 punch-outs per 9 this year, and 3.3 walks, 2 home runs per 9 innings. With pitching to that much contact, you're not going to be able to maintain even the 4.50 ERA that he's got right now. The fielding dependent is 5.84, so that's a little bit of an issue. I do like the under here though, because for one, the Cardinals seem to be figuring it out with their bullpen. They have realized that the likes of Ryan Stanek, Matt Savanson, they sent Chris Roycroft down to the minor league level. These guys were not the answer. Jojo Romero last year had a sub-350 ERA. Looks like he's bouncing back a little bit. You've been able to have a little bit of mix and match with John King leaving in the offseason, as they've really been looking to Riley O'Brien to hold it down in the back half of games. But for the flip side with Michael King, he's been really good this year, 2.95 ERA. He does have a 3.82 fielding dependent because he has been giving up about 4 walks per 9 innings, but up to about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. As we know, San Diego, one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks out there in all of baseball, and Padres offense over the last week or two, it has been scuffling a little bit. Fernando Tatis Jr., man, this guy just has not been able to hit the deep ball. He is still stuck on 0 home runs this season. Still moving line relatively solid, 311 on base. You still expect more there, but man, that's been rough to say the least. They've been able to get quite a bit out of Xander Bogaerts this year. He's up to about 355 on base, 7 home runs. Unlike last year, he's not a waste of money. Manny Machado has been, though. He does have 5+ home runs, but a 315 on base, hitting a 207. Freddie Fermin, Nick Castellanos hanging below the middle side 200. That's been a bit of an issue, but you do like Miguel Andujar. Should be getting more at bats. He's hitting about a 300. Ty France, in a small sample size, has been relatively solid as well. And for the Padres, last year they were number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA. They're up a little bit from that. The Mexico City series, although Andre Motorhome being relatively awful this season, is the reason why they've fallen off a little bit. Jeremiah Estrada comes off the injury list. He's looked better ever since coming off of it. Jason Adam, Mason Miller, they're giving you a sub-250 ERA, and with the Cardinals, this has been a team that has been above average with regards to run creation, but I still do have my question marks with them because you have seen quite a few guys that have been very much relying upon walks, like J.J. Weatherholt. Right now, he's sitting about a 240, but he's got over a 350 on base. You've been seeing Ivan Herrera hit about a 250, but he's at darn near 400 on base, so I have to wonder if that dries up a little bit. Victor Scott hitting below the middle line 200. They've dealt with a few injuries. Nathan Church has been a little bit banged up. Love what I've seen out of Jordan Walker hitting a 300 with 10 home runs, so he has been very rock solid, but I think that King goes out there, shuts it down, will take plus 125 or better on the Padres run line, and do like the under of 8, semi-total 7.6, 907, 908 on the card. It's the Rangers. They are going to be on the road against the Yankees. Was supposed to be Ryan Weathers going for the Yankees. Now it's going to be Paul Blackburn for them. Mackenzie Gore hopes to not get gored for the Rangers. The total is 8.5, over and under both between minus 105 to a minus 115. Yankees between minus 138 to minus 149 favorites. Plus 112 to plus 125 is that number on the Rangers, and at a plus 113 or better was willing to take a shot here on the Rangers on the money line. Recognize that Mackenzie Gore has certainly had command issues thus far this season. 4.67 ERA, but the 4.07 fielding dependent points towards positivity. Do not like the 4.7 walks per 9 innings. Do like the 11.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. And I do think that he's going to be able to figure it out a little bit. Had a bit of a shaky start to the season, but he's rounded into better form. 300 runs or fewer allowed in 4 out of his last 5 starts. And for Paul Blackburn, he's just not a guy that I've ever really trusted. The overall ERA is not bad. 3.21 ERA thus far this season. He's made 9 appearances, and he's got a grand total of 14 innings. So he's not stretched out. He is going to be probably a guy that goes like 3, maybe 4 innings. He was a starter by trade back when he was with the New York Mets and the Athletics, but still a career 4.92 ERA. He's never been a strikeout artist with about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. He does an okay job in terms of not giving up walks, 2.8 walks per 9 innings, but with the Yankees having to use up Brian Yarbrough and a lot of their longer relievers like Yuri De Los Santos yesterday, that leaves them in a little bit of a sticky wicket here. For the Texas Rangers, they do have some pretty stark home run road splits in terms of their offense. A lot of people don't know this, but the ballpark out there in Arlington are very pitcher friendly. That's why they're averaging 2.7 runs per game at home, more like 4.6 runs per game away from home. One of the bigger splits that you're going to find in all of baseball. And it is clear that the Rangers, even away from home, they do need to pick it up a little bit. You have had Corey Seager and Jake Berger both give you 6+ home runs, but both are hitting less than 230, so that's been a bit of an issue. Now, you've got Josh Young hitting well above a 315, but likes of Alejandro Doncalzame, Ozuna, Berger, I mentioned before, Andrew McCutchen, Seager, these guys hitting a 230 or lower, need a little bit more there. The catcher spot has been useless. You've got Brandon Nimmo, give you like a 360 on base, and then on the flip side for the Yankees, certainly Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger have been able to hold up their end of the bargain. Bellinger about a 360 or so on base, 5 home runs. Judge 14+ home runs, 400+ on base. Ben Rice has been rock solid, but we haven't seen him over the last few days. He's a little bit banged up. And then just the infielders like Jazz Chisholm, Paul Goldschmidt, Ryan McMahon. These guys all hitting at 225 or lower with not a ton of power. That's an issue. Yasan Dominguez, I think he's going to make an impact, but Trent Grisham, he has been awful out there in the field. He's hitting like a $175 right now. And for the Yankees, this is a rock solid bullpen, currently a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Tim Hill, Fernando Cruz, Brent Hedrick all had a sub 350 ERA last season. They've been rock solid this year. Camilo Duvall is well above a 5 ERA, and they've still been a solid bullpen, and David Benn are relatively reliable, but the team that's number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA is actually the Walker Texas Rangers. Despite having Robert Garcia, Chris Martin on the injured list, Tyler Alexander has been solid. He's able to give you some length. Same goes for Jacob Junis. Jacob Latz has like a 1 ERA. Cole Winn last year supplied about a 2 ERA. He's up to a 5 this season. That'll be going down. Jacob Junis has been a nice pickup, so do you like the Rangers on the money line? I do think that the ball is going to be flying out there a little bit more. Made a total of an 8.6, so 8.5 or lower in on the over. 9-9, 9-10 on the card. It's the Guardians on the road against the Royals. Seth Lugo goes for the Royals. Slade Sassoni is on the bump for Cleveland. Cleveland is an underdog between plus 119 to plus 125. Minus 140 to minus 146. That number on Kansas City with 9 being the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110. Did set the Royals at a minus 152. So I'm going to take the money line. I don't necessarily want the run line here because this Royals bullpen has not been good to say the least. Entering into the day on Wednesday, the Royals were at a nice hearty 482 with their bullpen ERA, 24th in the league. It's been getting a little bit better, but it's very clear they're missing Carlos Aceves. Right now, that has been a big giant issue for this team, and Lucas Erceg has been okay, but he's been a little bit shaky in the bullpen. You were expecting a little bit more, like John Schreiber. Matt Strom has been a bit of a disappointment as well, but that said, Seth Lugo, I don't know how long he's going to be able to keep this up because we have seen it from Seth Lugo in the past. He gets off to nice starts to the season, then he gets figured out because he's not a guy that has a lot of deception, but I mean, he's off to a great start to the season. 2.68 ERA, keeping the ball in the yard. He has given up 1 home run in 43 2/3 innings this far this season. Again, due in for a little bit of regression, but 7.6 strikeouts, 2.7 walks per 9 innings, 264 fielding dependent, going against a Guardians team that's in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. It's solid. Slade Sassoni, meanwhile, it's not been a good year for him. He's right now got a good 6.56 ERA. By good, I mean good and plenty 6.56 ERA with a 5.83 fielding dependent, 2 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He's only getting about 7 punch outs per 9. And for the Royals, they moved the fences in at Kauffman Stadium this season. That's a big reason why they've got such demonstrative home and road splits. Dead last in terms of road run creation with about 2.9 runs per game, over 5.4 runs per game at home. Your main man is Mike Carter Jensen. In terms of being able to supply power, he's been able to give the team 6 home runs. It's very clear that they need more out of Vinny Pasquantino along Salvador Perez. The power numbers aren't the world's worst. It could buy 9 home runs, but both entered into yesterday with a sub 320 on base, both hitting a sub 210. Bobby Witt Jr. starting to pick it up with the power. He's been able to move the line over 355 on base, 3 home runs. All 3 have come in like the last 10 days. So, and then Isaac Collins, along with Nick Lofton, hitting about a 255, so got guys getting on base, including Starling Marte hitting like 300. Then on the flip side for the Cleveland Guardians, a few unexpected guys like Brian Rocchio have stepped up over a 325 on base there. Daniel Schneemann has made with about a 280 with 4 home runs. Anel Martinez has been solid. Jason Lauder has had like 1 home run over the last 30 days, but still hitting at 300. Jose Ramirez, he has 6 home runs, but he's hitting for less than a 225, and I mean, Stephen Kwan has just not been himself this season. He's been hitting below a 225. Austin Hedges has actually hit relatively decent at the catcher spot. I can't believe it. He's been better than Bo Naylor, and for the Guardians, they're right now about a league average team. In terms of bullpen rate, that should be improving. Tim Aaron has yet to give up a run this year. Hunter Gaddis began the season on the injured list. He and Cade Smith, after shaky starts of the season, are starting to pick it up a little bit, but just really don't have a lot of faith here in Slade Cecconi, and do think that the Royals do find a way to be able to get the job done here. I'm a little late after minus 151 on the money line, and do like this total over with the conditions out there at Kauffman Stadium, set by total 9.2. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It's a Rays. They're going to be on the road against the Boston Red Sox, as you've got Jake Bennett on the bump for the Red Sox, and one Mr. Griffin Jacks is going to be the opener here for the Rays. The Rays do find themselves at even money to plus 105, minus 118 to minus 125. That number on the Red Sox with a total of 8.5. Under is minus 115 to minus 120. Over is even to minus 105, and I did make my total at 8.9. I do like the over. Now, for the Tampa Bay Rays, this is going to be sort of a two-pronged effort here. They're going to have Jesse Schultens along with Griffin Jacks both pitching in this game. Schultens is going to be a little bit more of the bulk guy. They might be piggybacking off of one another. And for Schultens, in the small sample size that he's had, he's come in after openers. He's posted up a 3.18 ERA. Not a guy that's going to light up the radar gun with about 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 2.5 walks per 9 innings. He's looked relatively solid. And Griffin Jacks, he's got over a 5 ERA. By trade, he was a little bit more of a starter, and you look at the 2 starts that he's gotten, a combined 5 innings, no runs allowed, coming out of the bullpen, he's got an ERA well above a 650. So, I mean, I think that they should probably be trying to revert. He and Ian Seymour have struggled so badly in the bullpen back to more starting roles. That's just me, but I mean, these guys have been pretty solid. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, this is a team that's in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation away from them. The Trop does really suppress offense, or else their numbers would be even better with regards to their offense, but have Junior Caminero coming off of a 44 home run season. Last year, he's been rock solid with a 340 on base, 8+ home runs thus far this season. Yandy Diaz continues to give you a 400 on base. Jonathan Aranda, 375 on base. He's up to 7 home runs. And all of a sudden, Nick Fortes is hitting at 265. Johnny DeLuca is hitting darn near 275. You've got guys that are moving the line all across the boulevard for the team. Chandler Simpson, one of the best base heroes in all of baseball. He's hitting for a 300, and for the Rays, they do seem to be figuring out the bullpen with Cole Sulzer, Brian Baker, the former Orioles, being able to give this team a sub-350 ERA apiece. And for Bennett, he made his MLB debut about a week or so ago, and I do think that there's quite a bit of upside with Jake Bennett. In that first start, he gave up 1 run over the course of 5 innings, albeit it was a solo home run, but you look at what he was able to do at the minor league level, and he was a pretty fast riser in this organization last year, posted up a 2.27 ERA at his various stops, more of a pitcher contact guy. He was only getting about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings last season, but does a good job being able to get weak contact. He's a lefty, so that's going to be able to help them out a little bit, and they do face off against a Tampa Bay Rays team that, against left-handed pitching thus far this season, have really not been able to produce a lot of power numbers, just 8 home runs, hitting about a 245, so they've been respectable, but again, the power has been a little bit down, and for the Red Sox, just overall, their power has been down thus far this season in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Perhaps that 10 spot that they put up on Framber Valdez a few days ago gets them going, because going into the day on Wednesday, Wilson Contreras, 8 bombs, hitting for about a 380 on base, and Weiler Abreu, about a 390 on base. Masataka Yoshida is able to move the line, but just have had a lot of disappointments out there in the infield. Andrew Marisario, Trevor Story, he's out there in the outfield, but Jaron Duran, Caleb Durbin, these guys hitting at 225 or lower. You just need a little bit more there for the Red Sox. The bullpen has regressed a little bit, but still, they were second in the league in terms of opening rate last season. They've been solid this year. Taylor Sebanijo has been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. You still have Aroldis Chapman, who's arguably a top 2 closer in all of baseball right now. Garrett Woodlock is a pretty solid long guy. He's been able to supply this team with a sub-380 ERA. That should be coming down. 377 is actually quite high for him. But Giovanni Morin has been able to hold down the fort as well. So I do think that for the Red Sox, they do get a nice performance here out of Bennett. I set them at a minus 125 on the money line. I'm willing to go up to a minus 125 there. I do like this total to the over. Boston obviously plays a little bit more to hitters, so I tell it at 8.9. 913, 914 on the card. It is the Twins, and they are going to be on the road facing off against the Washington Nationals. Jake Irvin goes for the Nats, and Simeon Woods Richardson is on the bump for the Twins. This is a relatively pick'em game, as right now you're finding both teams anywhere between about a minus 105 to a minus 115, and then your total is 9. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and I'm going to be taking whichever team I'm able to find at plus money. Right now, the best number that I'm finding is the Washington Nationals, right around minus 102, and I set them at a minus 102, so if we can get a minus 102 or better on the Nationals, I'm going to take them on the money line. Like I said, if either team becomes plus money, that's just what I'm going to be taking here. I do think that this is a relatively coin flip matchup, so I'll just leave it as simply as I can there. But that said, Simeon Woods Richardson just has not been good thus far this season. Like, he's typically a milquetoast guy that's going to have like league average numbers. This year he's been atrocious. 6.49 ERA, 6.46 fielding dependent, 4.4 strikeouts at 3.6 walks per 9 innings, while giving up 2.1 home runs per 9 innings. Irvin has actually been up with his swing and miss stuff. He's still giving up 3.9 walks per 9 innings. That's why he's got the 4.93 ERA, 4.04 fielding dependent though, 10.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, so a little bit more presentable there. Now it's a Washington Nationals team that has absolutely feasted on left-handed pitching, and they have been bad against righties, and Simeon Woods Richardson is a righty, but he's been giving it up to everyone. And then you do have to have a little bit of a fear for the Nationals that things regress outside of James Wood along CJ Abrams, who entered in the day yesterday. Both give you over a 375 on base with a combined 18 home runs. As Dal Lyles move a line, he's hitting about a 250. Jose Tena has been able to about a 275. You've been able to have Jovan Vivas, guys like this, be able to provide a little bit of something, but you need more from the likes of Curtis Mead, Jacob Young and company. Nasim Nunez has been a little bit rough as well. And then for the Minnesota Twins, Byron Buxton up to 10 home runs. He's been very solid for this team. You get power out of Matt Wallner along Cody Clemens. They both had 20-plus home runs last year. Both these guys are right now hitting below the middle side of 200. Josh Bell, less than a 300 on base. You've had Victor Carantini not giving you a lot. Lucas Shaw, he hits for no power, and he's hitting like 235. So you need a little bit more there. But both of these bullpens are just not trustworthy. The Twins are actually worse with their bullpen. Eric Orze had a sub-350 ERA last year with Rays. That's up to Larry around about a 5. Luis Garcia, Anthony Banda, Taylor Rogers, all above a 4.85 ERA, and then you've got Garrett Acton, who's actually been solid in the bullpen. He's currently on the injured list. Cody Funderburk's up 250 ERA, and for the Nationals, it's been a little bit better with the bullpen. They put Clayton Beeter on the injured list, which is not a bad thing. Gus Farland, PJ Poulin, sub 385 ERAs. That's not bad. Ciano Perez has been absolutely terrible for the team. Richard Dickey Lovelady, he's actually got a respectable ERA. I don't trust in him one bit, and when it comes to what you're going to be able to get out of Irvin, I think that he starts to experience a little bit of regression, so I do think that this is going to be very much a high-scoring game, but I think that this game should be a relative pick-em. I'm right now seeing the Nationals at a minus 102. That'd be by max there, but right now, looking at the Nationals at that minus 102 or better, and with this total, I like the over. I did set my total at a 9.6, 9.15, 9.16 on the card. You've got yourself the Baltimore Orioles. They're going to be on the road against the Miami Marlins, as it is one Mr. Max Meyer is going to be going for the fish, and Cade Povich is on the bump for the Orioles. Orioles do find themselves as a slim underdog here, as getting them between even money to plus 105, minus 118 to minus 125 is that number on Miami. And total on this game, it is 8.5 with the under that is minus 110 to a minus 120. Over is between even and minus 110, and I do like the under. I set my total at 7.9. Recognize that it's been a little bit higher scoring series thus far, and Cade Povich is a guy that I've had a really tough time in terms of being able to back in general. The ERA isn't bad. It's not amazing. 4.41, but a 5.10 fielding dependent. 1.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Swinging and miss stuff is down. 6.1 strikeouts per 9. Good news is he does face off against a Miami Marlins team that has been in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. As a matter of fact, the bottom 5. But you do have plenty of guys that are fighting away on base. You've got Otto Lopez, Liam Hicks, Xavier Edwards, all hitting at least a 300 for the team. And Hicks has been your main power man with 7 home runs. Kyle Sowers, fresh off the injured list. He's giving you like a 325 on base, has yet to provide power. And then you've got Christopher Morel, a guy that's been able to give you boom throughout his career. He's been very limited this season as well. They need Owen Casey to step it up. He was good in like the first 2 weeks of the season. He has toilet bowled to less than a 275 on base. Jacob Marcy is one of the best base stealers in all baseball. Problem is he's hitting a $182. And then for the Baltimore Orioles, this offense has been able to get online the last few days, and Gunnar Henderson has been able to give you 9 home runs. Problem is he's hardly hitting above a 200 with like a 275 on base. Adley Rushman, the power's not been there for he or Taylor Ward, but both are hitting above a 280. Both are giving you at least a 340 on base, so that's been solid. Pete Alonso over the last few days starting to get online. 7 home runs, 340 on base. Not quite where you expect him to be, but it's looking better. Samuel Basayo is starting to be able to pick it up. He and Jeremiah Jackson hitting between about a 250 to 260, and Jackson has been able to give you 6 home runs, all coming in the last 3.5 weeks. For the Orioles, the bullpen has been relatively respectable. They do have Ryan Elsley currently on the injured list. Anthony Nunez has started to act up a little bit, but Uncle Rico Garcia, Yunier Cano, don't you know these guys have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Andrew Kittredge has been a bit rough since coming out the injured list along Keegan Aiken, but they should be able to come along for the ride. And Dietrich Enns, 3 ERA is a long guy. He's been relatively solid. And for the Miami Marlins, top 8 team in terms of bullpen area. This despite having Pete Fairbanks on the injury list. And Calvin Fauché, over a 4 ERA. You expect that to be lowering a little bit. Anthony Bender over a 4 ERA. He had like a 3 last season. Blake Picard, though, has been a nice long guy, sub 3 ERA. Michael Peterson, great name. He's been able to be relatively solid. John King has been the king of being able to give you a sub 350 ERA as well. So I do think that's an interesting spot with the guy Max Meyer, who I really like. He's given up a half home run per 9 innings, 9.8 strikeouts per 9, 268 ERA, fielding dependent, right in line with that. Still gives up a few walks, but do think that the Marlins get the job done here. So I told 7.9. I'm liking the under, and with the Marlins willing to lay up to a minus 127 on the money line. 917, 918 on the card. The Athletics are on the road against the Phillies. Andrew Painter is on the bump for the Phils, and JT Ginn Juice is on the bump for the Athletics. The Athletics are between plus 113 to plus 120 underdogs. Meanwhile, minus 134 to minus 140. That number on the Phils line is a total over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and I do like the under. I semi-total at an 8.1. Now you look at the ERA of Andrew Painter, and it's quite concerning the fact that it's above a 5, but he has pitched much better in my opinion than that ERA would indicate. Currently 5.28 ERA, 358 fielding dependent, 0.9 home runs, 2.8 walks allowed per 9 innings. Swing and miss stuff has been okay, but not amazing. And he faces off against an Athletics lineup that entered in the day on Wednesday, 26th in the league in terms of run creation with only about 3.6 runs per game. They obviously hit much better when they're out there in Sacramento, so that is very much something that I'm taking note of with this team. And with regards to the Athletics, they've had a tough time being up at lefties as far this season. They've been much better against righties, and Painter is a righty, so that's something that you do need to be taking into account. But I mean, Brent Rooker hitting below the middle side 200 has been banged up all season long. That's been a big issue for this team. Lawrence Butler now for 2 straight seasons has not been able to pick it up. He, along Tyler Soderstrom, hitting below 220 is an issue. The wrong Max Muncy has been out of the fold due to injury. The guy that's really stepped up, how about Carlos Cortez? A 425 on base with 4 home runs in a small sample size. Nick Kurtz has a 400 on base. He's drawing a lot of walks. He's not necessarily hitting for a ton of average. Jacob Wilson, he's hitting like a 300 along Jeff McNeil, but neither of these guys draw a lot of walks. McNeil obviously a whole heck of a lot more than Jacob Wilson. And then on the flip side for the Phillies, they've been a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation, but do keep in mind that this team last year was averaging about 5.3 runs per game at home. They were much worse away from him. Kyle Schwarber, he still hits for about a 210, but 11 home runs, 350 on base. Bryce Harper has been able to find it over a 360 on base. He's up to 9 home runs thus far this season. It's just getting the infielders like Bryson Stott, along with Alex Boehmer, riding 225 or lower back online. JT Realmuto has been a little bit banged up, getting him back. That really fortifies the offense as well. And Trey Turner has been a bit of a disappointment as well, and with the Phillies, the bullpen has been neither here nor there, but now you get back your main closer in Yohan Duran. That's big because Jose Alvarado, ever since the drug suspension last year, has been awful, over a 6 ERA. Brad Keller, not quite what they've been hoping for, above a 4 ERA. Orion Kirkering coming off the injury list is big, though, because Tanner Banks has been supplying about a 6 ERA. The Athletics have actually been a respectable bullpen thus far this season. You got the likes of Hogan Harris, Joe Kunal, Jack Perkins, who have been able to supply a sub 4 ERA. Mark Leiter Jr. is just terrible. He does not belong on this roster. Scott Barlow, he looks a little bit washed, about a 4 ERA. He hasn't been awful, but still not a guy that I have a lot of faith in. And then with JT Ginn, the ERA is neither here nor there. 4.30 ERA, 4.88 fielding dependent. He gets just 7.1 strikeouts, 4.3 walks per 9 innings. Does an okay job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard, though. So I told it an 8.1, like the under. And for the Phillies, I like the money line. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 150 there. Wrap things up with 919, 920 on the card. The Rockies playoffs to the Mets. Christian Scott, great Scott, is on the bump for the Mets, and Jose Quintana goes for Colorado. Colorado is an underdog between plus 122 to a plus 125. Meanwhile, minus 144 to a minus 150 is that number on the Mets. 11 to 10.5 is the total on the 10.5. Over is minus 120. The under is even on the 11. Under is minus 120, and the over is even money. And I do like the over. Semi-total at 11.3. Keep in mind, Christian Scott in his first start of the season, he didn't make it out of the second inning because he allowed no hits, but he walked 5. He had absolutely no command whatsoever. So you always run that risk with this guy. He's got a 4.26 ERA with 12.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's right now giving up 7.1 walks and 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He had command issues at the minor league level as well, so I'm not feeling it there. And for Jose Quintana, 4.07 ERA looks good, but 6.31 fielding independent, 4.4 strikeouts, 4.1 walks allowed per 9 innings. He's giving up over 1.5 home runs per 9, like he is doing for aggression as well. Good news for him, though, is that he faces off against a Mets lineup that entered in the day on Wednesday, 29th in the league in terms of run creation with 3.5 runs per game. I don't know what they saw in Marcus Semien that made them want to trade Brandon Nimmo for him. I really don't. So there's that. But you take a look at things. You've got Juan Soto hitting a 300. He's only provided 3 home runs, but that's because he's been so banged up. Had 40+ last season. He's getting online. And then you've been able to have MJ Melendez hit above a 275 for the team as well. These are the lone 2 guys in the lineup yesterday that were hitting above a 250. Now, Mark Vientos, approximately a 250 going to yesterday. Feels like he's starting to figure things out a little bit, but the entire catcher spot has went down the toilet bowl with Francisco Alvarez, Luis Torrens not having a lot of success. Carter Benjay has looked a little bit better recently, but he's hitting at 200 with 3 home runs and about 100 at-bats. Bo Bichette has been a big giant waste of money. And on the flip side for the Colorado Rockies, Mickey Moniak, he's hitting for 11 bombs, darn near 400 on base. He has been great. Eduardo Julian is moving line. He, Troy Johnson, and Tyler Freeman are all hitting at least at 270. They're maybe not power hitters, but they're finding a way to move the line. TJ Romfield, as a young guy, he's finding a way on. Hunter Goodman, 9 home runs. Average has been a little bit down, but it's been okay. And for the Rockies, I recognize they're right around 20th in terms of bullpen area. Considering their home ballpark is Coors, that's actually not terrible. Antonio Senzatel's actually been really good in the bullpen. Failure of a starter, actually solid in the bullpen. Victor Vondick has over a 6 ERA, but last year that was sub-4. You've got the likes of Juan Mejia, Jimmy Harrogate, Jay Noah had a sub-4.25 ERA last season. Brendan Bernardino as well. That was a good pickup in the offseason. And on the flip side, the Mets seem to be figuring it out in terms of bullpen. Your main 2 guys, and Luke Weaver along with Devin Williams, have been rough. Weaver's starting to figure it out, but still has an ERA hovering right around 5. Devin Williams, he's just a lost cause at this point. But Oscar Brisbane, Austin Warren, Brooks Raley are giving you a sub-3 ERA. Greg Kimbrell hasn't been awful, but he's not a guy that you can rely upon, in my opinion. And for Scott, I just fear that he's going to knock himself out of this game early. Conditions should be a little bit better here at Coors on this day, so semi-total 1.3, like the over. And for the Rockies, made them the favorite of -104. I like them on the money line. And that'll wrap things up for the Thursday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. Big thanks to Jovan Alford of Total Sports Live, along Fansided, for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have 1 of 2 ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Coming at you guys every single day with picks and analysis on every single game, every single day. So I'll be back with you once you get them out. Thank you.